Hello, this is now the not fancy video, but the more in-depth in WWISE about the parkour music system. So this is meant to share with you how we've made it on the WWISE side. Of course, there is a lot of code with this as well, but let's start digging into it already. So the parkour music is something that was difficult to create in a sense that we didn't know exactly how to do it. And the approach was basically, if you've watched the video, like you're on a rooftop, we want to have some music, but not much music. And if you start doing parkour moves, then the parkour music will grow. And if you do it long enough, then the parkour music will bring you to this parkour flow, and this is where the music is at its peak. So it means that we have sort of like 3 levels of music. So let's talk about the first one, the one when you're just running. As you can see, there is a minute here. So this is one parkour here, empowering level soft. And the minutes were meant at the beginning for, if you're parkouring long enough, you get this music and that music. And then we decided not to do it this way, but we kept the system maybe for later. I don't know, but it's there. So basically in the parkour, you can see here the state group. You run and you stop. And as you can see, there are like other stuff, but once again, doing games, we're testing, we're fine-tuning stuff, and in the end, we just use the run, wait, and stop. I mean, anything else, that you're doing is running. Stop and wait is just stop, and we can discuss it a little bit later. So, the run is separated into these 3 levels of music that I talked to you about. 1, 2, 3. Let's dig into the first one. So that's what you get. And basically you can see it's 2 tracks, and it's a randomizer of, let's say, here it's called broken glass and here it's called bass. And why is this? It's because I didn't want the music to feel every time the same. And somehow it's good that the music is sort of generating itself. It's a very simple way of doing it, but this is what you get. So that's 1. If I play it again, it's going to choose randomly other stuff. It's all those little artifacts, a little bit of broken sounds, and by design, because to reflect on the broken city. One last. You see, every time it's different. And I don't know what's going to play. So it's just you running on the rooftop. If you're running, if you don't run, you don't hear this. You hear the stop. The running, we had made different RTPCs. So this is parameters. And we can know, at which speed you're running, in a sense that not the speed of the player, but basically more like the velocity, like, okay, you're running or you're stopping. And we could have used, this sort of RTPC, so parameters, to know that you're running or stopping, but it would have been a mistake because the control we have here are much different from the other ones. And you can see that there is a filtering over time, meaning that anything that is using the RTPC will take 8 seconds to come back. And same thing for release, like to go away, 5 seconds. And you'll understand how we use this a little bit later. And the states themselves as well, you can have like different values from stop to run and run to stop. And it's dealing with something completely different than the RTPC. We'll see about this. So just running is easy. You're just going. you know, the first level. Then the second level is when you start doing some moves. And once again, you can see that it's a lot to do with the randomizer. So randomizer of things, you know, sequence whatsoever. So let's listen to one of them. Right now you can hear it's very soft because my velocity is very low. So now I'm playing it with, I'm running for good. And of course it's not running because I forgot we have the special move values. So it's doing something as well on the music. And this is that this parameter is like every time you do a move, it's going up like this. You see, up and up and up and up and up. And the threshold is 199. It stays there. And we'll see about this. So let's listen to it. So it's a randomizer as well. So you're like at the threshold, but if you stop doing some moves, you can hear that the bass is fading away. You have this low pass filter on this choo-choo there, and the synth, the pulse like is getting a little bit thinner. So that's, you know, once again, high parkour special moves, another randomizer. It's a different rhythm. So I guess you get the idea. So this is fairly easy to understand. So let's see how it goes from the running to this intensity. And, you know, quite basic as well. You go from one, so this one to second one in, let's say, next beat, you know, and there's a little bit of a long fade out. And that's pretty much it. And going back, you know, 2 to 1, it's immediate this time because we don't need any musical reference to this. And this is what you get. Here, I'm going to start at 0 and I'm start running. So I'm running. And now I'll do some moves. See, it's in the back, but if I get stuck and I go back, you know, now I'm doing again some moves. And if I stop doing some moves, and I will go back to the ambience. You see, very nicely. So this is quite basic, but very efficient. Now, what happens is when you reach the threshold and the game is waiting for you to do a huge landing to enter the last intensity, which is here. So this is the sound of it. So this last intensity on this parkour as well, you can see it's a lot of randomizer. So I don't know what's going to play. Let's try one. Need to play from the beginning. That's one. And the second time. So I really don't know what's going to happen if I play the, let's say, the container of all these musics. This is what's going to happen. And it's completely random. I don't choose to have the guitar. I don't choose to have the synth or the rhythm in the back. Everything is quite in real time, the decisions, randomly. Now. Final one. Well, it picked up the same one. I guess the computer liked this guitar solo. So that's the big one. Now, going from the previous one, which was this. Oops, sorry. There we go. So this to that. Once again, I need to make the parameter good. This is a transition that is fairly obvious, but that will shock some of the people out there, because going from 2 to 3, it's immediate. So it means that you have the, you have the click, let's say. But if you land, it's never on the beat. I mean, it could be on the beat if you're lucky, let's say, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter for two reasons. Number one, the feedback is much better when it happens exactly when you land. So it was very much better. And also, while you're jumping off, any place, what happens is, like, we have this parameter right here, which is it's called PARKOUR time over large fall, and this is from Guova, the coder, gaming programmer, and this sort of stuff like is the void system, and basically, it sort of like blurs the music, so you don't hear much of the tempo, the BPM or whatsoever. And so to blur this and then land with a not musical way, in terms of like it's not on the beat, doesn't matter, because it's very good with this sort of blurry music. You don't know, and boom, So it's difficult for me to do it in WWISE, but I will try. Well, that's why you always need to play the game and test in the game, because WWISE adds some limitations, and it's working in the game. Play the game. It's an amazing game. So that's 3. Now that we have all of those 3, some decisions were made, because it's not just like, oh, I'm going from 1 to 2 to 3, and with those rules that I showed you. As you could see, I stopped before 2, but when I play the third one, I go to 3 in the values. And why is that? For 2 reasons. Number one, it's because if the players go like to 2 and then don't do any moves for a little time, then it can go back to the previous segment. So you would hear like, oh, it's starting and then going back. And it could feel like boom, 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 like this, very much. This is annoying. And this is somehow, well, we don't want this. So we're jumping to 3. So you have like some time to go down, to be back to the second level intensity of the music. However, what is also very interesting is how we're layering the music on the third intensity. So when it's going down, you feel it. And you really have to, understand what's going on. Like, you're not doing it anymore. So let's play it full engagement, full intensity. Now I'm going down. Listen. Much less than this. You hear the cellos? And now? It's not this bad, but you feel like there is not the drive anymore. Yes. So that was very important to have these units, like all of them, going through. And the way we do this is very easy. We're just using, those RTPC that are like playing on the low pass, So I'm used to say this, 1 to rule them all, if it rings some bells. 1 RTPC to rule all of the different values you have, because if you start doing too many, like control all over the place, it's very difficult, and in some sense it's you're going to be lost in the process. So that's what happens, when you're doing this special move parameter on, this is the choo-choo. On the kick, you have this, and you can see, oh, that's the parkour velocity here, but that's the special move. So there you go. You see it's going down before 2. You see the volume of the kick is going down. So very useful not to do everything that feel the same and have this sort of margin, so the players can feel once again. You're losing it, and now it's back. Remember when I was talking about the parkour velocity, it's not just to say that you're stopping or not. So it's not like the states that says, oh, you're stopped running and now you're stopping. It's the velocity, the speed of your character. And listen to what it does for, let's say that I'm running and I'm doing parkour moves and everything, but then I'm climbing. And climbing is not parkouring in a sense that you're not like in a flow. You're like trying to get over the obstacle. It takes a little time. And there, the music, we didn't want the music to be like full engagement. So listen what it does. If I start climbing, and I'm going back running. So it gives, once again, this sort of feeling of like, okay, now I'm climbing, focusing on everywhere I need to put my hands on. And the pace is a little different in the feeling, you don't have this sort of like drive anymore. And you can accumulate and have like less of parkour move and climbing, and this is the result. You see, so it's very dependent on your actions and what you're doing. And the music is growing and softening depending on what happens to your character and your decisions. So that's one thing. The other thing is, instead of being, let's say, straightforward into getting from level 3 to 2 when you pass the threshold here, like here. Once again, when you get the flow, the parkour flow, it's so exhilarating. You're so thrilled that we didn't want the players to feel like, oh, I'm losing it and I lost it already. And so in order to prevent these sort of frustrations, what we did is the transition from 3 to 2 or 3 to 1, depending, is exit queue. It means what? It means that it will wait for this cursor to reach the end of the segment before going back to 2 or 1. So it means that you will still have this music, but in a very soft way. Let's listen to it. So already I'm losing it, but not so much. And now, did you hear it? and there's just the guitar if you're like. And of course, if you're building up back the moves, this is what happens. So if now I play it from all the segments, you'll see how it will switch to 1 or 2, depending where I am, at the end of the segment. So now we're going to switch to 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you don't do anything, as previously seen, and back to the running. And once again. And so that's that. And it's the same if it's 1. So it gives, once again, the players a sort of a feeling that it's, oh, you're losing it, but we don't want you to be punished. We want you to feel we're still here. But if we realize after this momentum that you're not doing it anymore, then we need to soften. So that's for the 3 levels and how we dealt with them. Now, the run and stop are very much, I'm looking at the time. Yes, 20 minutes already. I hope you're not bored. The run and stop were very, very fun to do. One thing is there's a lot of coding behind this, like to decide when run should be triggered and when stop should be triggered. We thought of it like, okay, so depending on how long you've been running, the stop will be longer to happen. And the longer you wait, the longer the run will come back. Okay, so it depends, because sometimes what I wanted to have is like the ability for the players to stop, look around and hear the city. Because I didn't want the music to take over. I want them, when you parkouring and you're like, okay, what's going on? I can hear something. You don't want the music to be like, hey, boom, boom, boom. No, that's bad. You want the music to soften. So the music already, because you're stopping, and remember this RTPC, because you're stopping, the music, the velocity will make the music softer. And then after an amount of time that we determine with the coder, with Guova, then the music fully stops. So this is the feeling you're going to get. So let's just say that we're, like full energy, and I'm going to stop. I'm running. And now I stop. Oops. Sorry, I need to be here. Another time. Let's do it again. Stop. I mean, do you hear how smooth the stop goes? How you feel almost that the guitar is stopping? It's using the reverb from WWISE. Maybe not the best verb, but you need to consider the fact that a lot of things happens in the game, so we don't want to overload the CPU. But with all the sound design and everything, it's working perfectly. So let's go back to run and listen carefully. I guess the computer likes this segment. And stop. Very natural. Going back. And stop. Super smooth, super musical. It's not a fade out like you feel like the music is going like tinier, and no, it's just like expressing and finishing its almost this phrase, as if the musicians were looking at you and be like, oh yeah, we need to stop. So how did we do this? It's basically a blend of a lot of stuff. I cannot do it, while I'm using WWISE, but you have to consider that this also, happens to change the music a little bit, if you stop, in a sense that, if I play the music now, as I'm running, it's going to feel a little bit different. You see? So if I stop, you see? Very natural. So the way we did this is by using some extra help from reverb, of course. And you can see that there is so there are two, it's for another stuff, but this verb is the one that is triggering when the state, remember when I was talking about states? When the state here, stop happens, you see, it's opening the reverb with, remember as well when I showed you this sort of transition time in fading in and fading out. So having all of this allows us to very much create a feeling of, oh, the fading happens on what? So let's look at the containers. We have the fading that happens on states, not here, like here, the stop, the drums, for instance. We don't want the drum to be affected by the verb, because else it's going to feel like a little bit mushy, like, you know, if it's the kick, if it's a snare, like, it feels like very bad. So we want to stop that much faster, you know, and let the other ones express themselves. So same thing here with the high kick, exactly, you know. So it's a blend of those states and RTPCs and verb that allows us to, let's say, create something that is very musical, yet it's nothing to do with the segments. So let's finish with the last bit. We've seen that it's very easy with randomizer, but we can also do this with the orchestra. For instance, in this place, we have the level 3. And now it's a little bit more constructed in terms of feeling, but yet there are a lot of randomizer. And you will have the same feeling for all of the parkour. So this is the high intensity, and I'm going to play with the velocity. And I'm running. And the music will now, look, so this is a random continuous that will go to a random continuous as well. And so if I stop running and I go back. So it is possible to do this with an orchestra. It's the melody, very musical. See, all the system is working. So that's it for the parkour music. I hope you enjoyed. I hope it was interesting, and that it gave you some ideas maybe. And don't hesitate to put some comments down below. I'll try to answer as soon as possible. And thank you for watching, and see you on the next video maybe. Bye.